Now I'm going to continue working on Pour 30 secondes, and where the Rico sound starts, there's a musical instrumental interlude, and there's some like upper register, like falsetto, head voice vocals. And so on, and there's a counterpoint melody played by other instruments, and from my virtual instrument research, I found that a bassoon sounded best for that melody, but since I don't have a bassoon and I don't want to use the virtual instruments, I want this album to be fully organic. So I'm going to try to do blending of a couple instruments. I have a Suzuki Melodion, which is like a Hohner Melodica. It's like reedy, so gets closer to a bassoon, and I'm going to mix it with an Alto recorder, see what that gives. So here's the Suzuki Melodion. So I'm going to play in the lower part of the register, and I'm going to use the tube. All right, let's do this. As you may have noticed, I recorded the Melodion with this ribbon mic, the AEA KU5A, to sort of take off the harshness from the Melodion, which is pretty like reedy and like intense, and also use this vintage V76 preamp emulation in the Apollo like Unison technology thing. And also it makes it more vintage sounding, so that's pretty good for that type of instrument. But for the alto flute, I'm going to use something else. So here's the flute. It's a Yamaha. I don't know if it's mine or my wife's, but I don't know. I had that. I can't really play, so I'm going to do my best to play the same part as the Melodion. And I have my handy PDF chart. So since I don't know how to play, I'm using this chart here, and like I'm okay with some notes to like from D to E. That's pretty cool, but moving from D to G was like, it's like so hard. What is it? Yeah, so that's going to be a challenge. I might end up using a studio trickery and just play that G by itself and just splice it together. I mean, the point is not to become a virtuoso at this, is to just have that sound blended with the melodica, melodion to give like another side of blended tone. So for the flute, I'll be using this mic here, the RE50 like Electro-Voice. It's an omnidirectional dynamic mic, so it's going to be more airy, more roomy, and it's still going to be not too harsh since it's dynamic. And I'm still going to be using the V76 preamp for this one. Now here's the virtual bassoon. Now here's the Melodion blended with the flute. I mean, not quite the same, but I mean, it's like in the same ballpark of vibes. So I'm pretty satisfied with it. Right, now I'm going to do the vocals. I'll do a left and right pan with the RE50 to get that roomy backup choir feel. And then I'll do a center one using the KU5A afterwards. And I'm going to use the Pro MPA, Pro VLA combo as my like insert chain. All right, now I did some mixing. Now let's hear like everything together, like the Rico sound, the original track, plus like the new orchestra bit and the falsetto vocals. Now I just want to build on that symphonic foundation that I've got going with the recorder and the Melodion and those vocals. So I found like a specific synth patch that sounds sort of like a French horn. Not quite, but it has that feel. Let me show you. So it's the UAD Polymax synthesizer. And I've got this really cool patch here with some hall reverb and the filter cut off at 754 hertz. So you get this, and there's a slow attack and a slow release. And the magic sauce here is like that slow attack and release are important, and that reverb, but it's mostly the filter, because if I remove the filter and I just don't filter the sound at all, ooh, it's very strident, very synthy, very like saw wave. So I dial it back to 754. And in the mix, it really serves that purpose of like a French horn. It's really nice. So I'm going to double the Melodion and flute part with this recorder part. Next up in my layering, I'm going to add some Mellotron choir. So I have two patches here. I have one that's going to double what the vocals are doing. And that's going to be like to the right. And I'll have another one that's going to double what the Melodion, recorder, and polysynth are doing. So, I mean, together, I mean, it's not going to be the same part, but it's going to give like a nice, wide, nice, eerie type of texture. It's going to add some texture, which is pretty nice. All right, so I did it. It sounds something like this, just the Mellotron choirs. So, I mean, it's just there, sort of buried almost in the background, but it adds a texture, and I'm not creating new parts, so it's not adding any harmonic complexity. It's just sort of building building a good foundation. Now I'm going to add a couple more layers of vocal harmonies. It's sort of going to borrow from the Melodion recorder part and a bit from harmonizing the other part to not make it too complex. Some notes will be double, some notes won't be, and it's gonna enrich the stack, the symphonic stack. And I'll be using this guy, the SM7B, for those tracks. Right, next up, I'm going to add some guitar lines with my Gretsch and my Sheraton. And the really like twist thing here that's really interesting, it adds some texture, is a fuzz pedal. Without the fuzz, I mean, it's not really going to poke out in the mix, but with the fuzz, is going to have a really nice texture. And I'm not going to, like, again, I'm not making up a new part. I'm just using notes from previous parts and doubling them. So it doesn't add harmonic complexity, it just adds texture. Now I'm going to add some bass, very simple bass line played with my finger on the jazz bass with only the neck pickup to really lay a good foundation to this whole symphonic bit. Next up is piano, playing some high double octaves to double again some parts that are already present in the mix, not add any more like harmonic complexity. Now the final layer in this whole symphonic stack is going to be some kick drum. But I want it to sound more symphonic, so I'm going to layer it. I'm going to first play the kick drum with just like a drumstick, straight up. And after that, I'm going to layer it on top of it with a floor tom, but with the mic further away. And the final third layer is I'm going to use like a fake timpani to layer that on top. So it's going to give like a nice, interesting stack that sounds a bit more orchestral than a normal kick drum. And what I'm using for the timpani is this free plugin called Sonatina Orchestra, the timpani. Sounds pretty good. It doesn't need to sound amazing. It's super lightweight and it does the job as like a layer for those three layered stack, like floor tom things. And this is what the stack of kick, floor, and timpani sounds like together. So definitely not rock and roll and more orchestral. A little extra thing I did in the mixing for the choir is I fed it to a new channel, a new bus. Then I added a sound shift to shift it 1 octave down. Sounds a bit monsterific by itself. But after that, I added a shimmer to that pitch shifted down version. And since the shimmer adds like an octave up type thing, and I'm using the octave down, it adds a really interesting texture, and when mixed all together, it gives something really, really cool. So here it is. And now, like, here it is, but without the sound shifted bit. Now with the sound shifted bit. So it adds a lot of bottom end and some nice shimmery texture, which, I mean, it's called the shimmer for a reason. All right, now let's hear the full stack all together and mixed. Now this is the album dashboard. I gave myself the goal to finish this album before my birthday next year. There's 293 days left. And it's such a long timeline because I can only work on it during the weekend. And therefore, like, it's a couple of hours a week. So if you crunch down the numbers, it makes sense. So I've been working on pour 30 secondes, so let's zoom in. So I did a lot of instruments right now. I didn't do any vocals. I did some oohs, which count as instruments. And I showed you the like second instrumental bit, where like the orchestral bit, but there's like a couple of other ones in the song. And I also did some work on the choruses, and I did a lot of work on the song. So instrument wise, I think I would say 100%. I don't know what else I'm going to add to the song right now except sing on it. So let's call it 100%. Polish, I did some really cool stuff with the orchestral bit, with like some layering with the timpanis and so on. And I would call like the polish at 50%, or maybe let's call it 70%. All right, and I did accomplish a lot of mix with that nice shimmer tuned down thing, and like mixing all those stacks of symphonic stuff. So there's a lot of mixing done. There's gonna be a lot of mixing to do for the vocals because I want to have a lot of harmonies. So I'm gonna call the mixing at 75%. The last 25% will be like mixing the vocals and finishing the whole thing. All right, so this song is at 74%. I think the next big step is actually recording the vocals. I have all the lyrics for this one, so it should be pretty straightforward. Now back to the grid. Okay, I went from 32.1% to 33.5%, so that's like 2.4%. No. 32.1 to 32.5, so that's 1.4%. So it's above the weekly average of 1%, which is good. So a lot of work went into pour 30 secondes. We'll see where I land on next. I mean, I'm seeing every mistake and la dérive at like low recycled dreams. So, and I have these ones to fill up too, like songs 14 to song 20. I have some ideas, but I'm going to think about that next week. If you like my music, you could go to Spotify. I have 3 albums there. There's some songs in English, some songs in French. And if you go to Bandcamp, there's 4 albums. There's a bonus album I released in 2006. It's sort of like early demos of songs I was doing in French. If you're interested, you could go there. Links are in the description. And see you next time.